Welcome, everybody, to today's community call for Tuesday, March 18th. Today, we're going to have an RCC evolution update from the Stewardship Circle. And here for that update, we've got one of our Stewardship Circle members, Michael, is going to be the one who's facilitating the call today. And Michael, would you like to get us started?
Good afternoon or good morning, friends, wherever you find yourself today. It's so good to be here, and I'm so happy to be facilitating this conversation, this presentation for us this morning. And a number of our stewardship community circle members will take part today. And just to note, Aaron mentioned this at the beginning, but for those that have just joined, this call is going to be recorded. So if at any point you want to share something in a more confidential tone, just give us a shout and we'll stop the recording during that time. And don't hesitate to throw into the chat where you're coming in from today. So good to be here, and it's so wonderful to be amongst folks that love retreat and the work that retreat offers into this world, which right now needs this energy so much. I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten, who's going to offer our centering practice for today.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And I echo the welcome to everyone. It feels so good to be here with all of you this afternoon. For an opening, I'm going to share a poem that also went out in the RCC newsletter. So it might sound a little familiar if you are on that email list and you read it, but just a little context for this. We recently had a 2-day retreat with our stewardship circle for the retreat center collaboration. And Brenda led us in a really wonderful part of the opening, the first evening, taking time to reconnect with each other after a long, long time apart, was to write our own versions of a poem. And I'll put the poem, the original poem, the inspiration in the chat if you want to just open it up and like leave it in a tab in your browser to read later. The exercise was basically taking this poem where I'm from and writing our own versions of it. So just creating space for this deep heart sharing about who we are and how we see ourselves and what things have been formational for each of us in our journey to the room together. So that was very lovely and powerful. And at the end of the retreat, I found myself reflecting on where we are from. So in our experience of the 2 days, what was the different organism or the being that took shape in the circle among us that included us and was also more than any of us? So I'm going to read that poem, Where We're From, as an opening. And then in the rest of our time together, we'll get into some more details about things that we talked about and did during that time. So this is Where We're From, a collaborative poem from the RCC Stewardship Circle retreat at Pendle Hill. We are from sunny windows, from homemade granola and fine chocolate. We are from spacious rooms where the movement has gathered, formed, reformed, transformed for 95 years in holding. We are from co-created temporary altars, sticks and stones and magic wands, car keys and travel charms, symbolic thimbles and holy shells, gifts of earth and family and friends. We are from the ancient future dance between culture and structure, going fast and going slow, feminine and masculine, the we here and the we all, the urgent now and the not yet. We are from 300-year-old trees and what is waiting to be born. We are from what's next and who knows and why not and how, and having sat quietly long enough in hope and trust, we are also from the answered questions who, though still wild in nature, came out of the dark wood's edge to nuzzle our hands and grace us with their beauty. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kirsten, for sharing those words that came to you in the days after that retreat at Pendle Hill. We'll let each of those words sink into us. And the beauty of words is that we each hear something different and take something different from it in the moment that we're at. I want to review our agenda with you, and just to let you know that we're going to touch point a little bit on highlights from Pendle Hill. And before that, we're going to review our core values and agreements together. Then we want to have a conversation and presentation about the membership model that the Stewardship Circle has come to. I know that yesterday the listening circle had a chance to review this, and I'm not sure if anybody on this call today was a part of that yesterday, but if it is, your voice has been threaded into this talk today. There'll be a chance for us to interact as a large group or a small group. We'll see how many people make their way here, and we'll decide on the spot. We have a video presentation from Peter and some slides that Aaron has put together, these beautiful design slides for us to review and some thinking through. Time in group. At the end of our meeting, we have some news from a few staff folks and some news about what our April community call will be about, and then a closing practice. So that's where we're headed today and what our roadmap looks like. So before we get into any content, we're going to just read through our core values and agreements, and I'll just read those. That they're going to be, I believe, up on the screen. Aaron's just going to do that for us. Thank you so much, Aaron. You're amazing. I'm just going to read these through for you. And I just invite you to let these words settle in. Here are the core values of the RCC. The power of place and space. The interplay of inner and outer work. A commitment to the universal flourishing. The Retreat Center Collaboration is a community of practice for retreat center leaders and their allies in the United States and in Canada. And here are our agreements that we speak into each meeting we have. Speak from your own experience. Your voice and your story are important. We are all knowers and learners in this space. Silence can be centering. Movement and sound can be too. Keep others' stories confidential. Share what you learn. This is an invitational space. Participate as you are able. Hold discomfort with grace and deep listening. We are not here to fix. And in the words of Dr. Letitia, choice is the smallest unit of liberation. I just invite you to take a breath in as we let these agreements and values settle upon us as we prepare to meet with one another. Let's just take a breath in. And arrive into this moment. Gloria, thanks so much for letting us know how much you love the agreements. We love them too. We want to give you an overview and highlight of our time in Pendle Hill, as well as review some of the work that has come out of that time. So the Stewardship Circle, along with Brenda and Peter and folks, Michelle Scheidt from Fetzer joined us at Pendle Hill. I'll just say it's my first time ever being at Pendle Hill, and what a beautiful space steeped in 95 years of history of justice and reconciliation and peace work in the world, work of deep listening. It was profound to me to be sitting in the room, and Francisco let us know that at one point Eleanor Roosevelt was sitting in this room dialoguing with folks from the community about the future. And even as a Canadian, I thought, wow, that is so amazing to know that this place, just like all of our centers, are a part of the rich tapestry of life on Turtle Island. And so I just felt so blessed to be in that space. And our time was steeped in ritual, with intention, with care to how we were with one another, and to the work that we knew was in front of us. And as Kirsten mentioned, we hadn't been together in a very long time in person. In fact, not since October of 2023, when the Stewardship Committee and many others gathered at the annual retreat right here in Paris, Ontario, at Five Oaks Center, where I'm the executive director. We had time to spend with Peter Rinch, who shared some of the dreaming and work that he has been doing in his work for the Retreat Center collaboration. And we're going to review some of that today. We had time to review with Brenda the amazing work of the Racial Healing Initiative, and to listen to highlights and some concerns, and to dream ways forward together with this important work. We spent time laughing and eating and joking. We also spent a lot of time in the evening commiserating about the state of the world, about the state of the interaction between, we talked a lot about the interactions between the United States and Canada, and what's happening between variety of groups of different peoples. And there was like nervous laughter in the room, and nervous energy and fear, and all that, I think, contributed to a reaffirmation of the importance of the work of the RCC, and to keep going, to keep at it. And so that is why we are here today, to talk a little bit more about how we might move forward. Kirsten is going to share with us a new stewardship covenant that came out of this meeting, as well as a helpful tool in decision making. So I'll turn it over to Kirsten. And Kirsten, if there's any highlights that I missed, you're very welcome to add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Michael. That was a good summary of some of the details, but also the power and the content of our time together. I went into it feeling like we'd been driving a car that was like a couple thousand miles past needing an oil change, and we knew that we needed to be together in person in order to keep moving in a direction together. We'd been doing what we could over email and over Zoom, but I think, especially as people whose vocation is in the world of retreat centers, I think we know something of the unique power of being embodied, of being in person. And I would say that part of the work we knew we needed to do when we were in person is this foundational cultural work as an organization, as a leadership body. The past year and a half since we had been together as a stewardship circle has contained a lot of transition for our organization, transition for our world, transition for many of us individually. And I think in all of that transition, we were seeing both the gifts of how we were working together sort of naturally in flow with each other. And we were seeing the challenges and the times where we just really did not have the tools and the visible commitments ready at hand to navigate challenging situations in the way that we would hope to do when we're at our best. So our theme for the retreat was really kind of three sections: harvesting. So, what wisdom are we gleaning from the work that RCC has been doing? Nourishing, how do we nourish and deepen the cultural practices of the organization? And then planning. So I'm going to share with you something that came out of specifically the nourishing piece of that. We worked at the beginning of our first full day with a draft of a covenant, a governance culture covenant, with both theoretical commitments, but also tools that will help us practice those commitments in real time with each other. And this is not the first time the Stewardship Circle has done something like this, but I would say we haven't had a routine that has kept it in front of us and made it a living document and a living set of practices that we're committed to. So part of trying to make this a living covenant is presenting it to you today. And hopefully it will go on our website. Hopefully it will be something we read at the beginning of each time we gather, and also something that we check in on regularly. How are we doing? What are we learning? What do we need to shore up? What doesn't feel relevant anymore? So I'll share a screen with you because I know I appreciate being able to read something with my eyes at the same time I'm hearing it with my ears. Okay. Is that visible to folks? Is there a thumbs up or a yes? Okay, good. I will just read this to you. This first paragraph is sort of our why. Why are we putting in place such a covenant in this time? Cultivating depth of practice in how we are with one another in ordinary times is what gives us strength to hold together in extraordinary times, meeting the demands of each moment and each era with grace and shared vision. As believers in the power of retreat centers to serve the unfolding future of our planet, these are the commitments and tools that support the culture we seek to uphold as a network leadership body. And so here are the commitments that we kind of tested out and refined with each other during the retreat, and we commit to continue working with. We hold quality of relationship at the center. We work consciously in service to the current moment, the network, and the larger world. We look to each other for knowledge and wisdom. We commit to be aware of power and use it to uplift and co-create. We give and receive feedback and tend to impact. We commit to be aware of our bodies. We commit to lean into discomfort. We commit to honor the gifts of both process and outcomes. We value the kindness of clarity, especially in times of complexity. We make decisions by unity, ensuring all voices are heard. And finally, we name and work with, not against, creative tensions. And we kind of collaborated to name some of those. And again, I think this will be a living list as we find that we're in the thick of a creative tension and find it helpful to give a name to that. So Pragmagic appears here, which is from one of the early RCC, like what is this thing gatherings in the very beginning. Credit Abbess Linda from Green Gulch for that. Urgency and patience or grace. Going fast and going slow. Practicality and right relations. And then in order for these things to be alive and in practice in the moment and have the tools we need when we need them, we laid those things out. So among those, practices, rituals, and ceremonies for embodiment, land connection, and relationship. We do a meeting check-in, both personal check-in and our shared commitments, and a checkout. We can each call for a moment to breathe or move, to name attention or transgression. We know we need to gather in person. We welcome agitating questions. We also use one-on-one conversations and phone a friend if there's something we're working with and can't sort through on our own. We have a practice of sharing facilitation. Our RCC core values that Michael read. Fist to 5 consensus decision-making, which I'll probably share about very briefly at the end of this. After action reviews, conscious contracts, polarity thinking and mapping, and bringing balance through group membership. I will stop the share and I'm going to just put a link in the chat. There's a lot that you can find online for Fist to 5 as a decision-making tool. This is something that we've been using for a while. And I have found it helpful in a lot of different circles, and wanted to highlight that specifically because I have found it so helpful. And I think it's great when we have these community calls for each of us to be able to leave with something practical, a practical tool that we can consider for use in our contexts. So I don't have time to go into that in depth. But just to say, it's a way of making sure every voice is heard in decision making and allowing people to register dissent, and then creating a platform for iterating on the first idea to make it better and to increase the level of support for something collectively. So it kind of gets you out of that stuck place of, well, we've got to all be on board 100%. And also kind of gets you out of the place of like realizing that just less than half of the group that's voting on something really is not in favor of it. So it creates a pathway for refining something for more collective, collaborative support. So thank you for being part of the community that is going to hold us accountable to this governance culture covenant, and to using these tools. And I would welcome any questions folks have. I don't think we have a lot of time for questions and discussion right now. But if you have questions and you want to send them my way, or any of the Stewardship Circle members, or you notice that we're not living up to something and want to reflect that back to us, I'd really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I think it's going back over to Michael. Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for that email address.
Thanks so much, Kirsten, and welcome to others who have joined us in the last few minutes. We're so glad you're here. And I just want to say thanks to Kirsten for guiding us through the development of this covenant and the whole effort of the whole group to come to this place. A living document is so important for the work that we do. We're going to shift now into talking about a membership model. And we're going to start with a video from Peter Wrench. Peter would have loved to have been here with us today. He loves to speak to groups in person, but he is in Japan, so it's currently the middle of the night there. And so with great reluctance, he made this video, and here it is. So he's going to talk about the first part of the membership model, and I'm going to follow up and share about the second.
Okay, I'll get this going. Let me know if you do not have sound. Give me a little wave if you can't hear what's going on.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you. This is Peter calling in from Japan. Sorry I couldn't be with you on the community call today. But I wanted to share some of what we discussed at the Stewardship Circle retreat we had at Pendle Hill a couple weeks ago in Pennsylvania. In particular, what I want to talk about is a vision for staffing RCC going forward. And we're all really excited about this vision. And our amazing administrator, admin assistant, Aaron, put together a graphic for it. Now, I'm recording this video in Japan, so Aaron may have changed the graphic, but I think that you can get the gist here. So hold on as I share my screen, and I'll show you what we're talking about. Okay, so Aaron's put together this really cool campfire metaphor graphic for a staffing structure for RCC going forward. And so the vision we have is that there are three folks working at the center of RCC. And so that is a program director. And the program director is focused on has their focus outwardly. They're focused on cultivating institutional partners, developing new shared programming that could be deployed across retreat centers, and securing the philanthropic resources, both to do that work and to sustain RCC. So it's a programmatic focus with an outward orientation. Next piece of it is the network manager. And so one of the things that we know is that the RCC community um, is stronger when there's shared resources, when there's um, shared resources for the challenges that all retreat centers face. And so the network manager, a key piece of this work is holding together the community of retreat centers, figuring out what it is that is best practices. What does it take to, um, let's say hire a communications person? What does it take to bring in new programming? Um, Really, this is thinking about an orientation towards service to the network. Um, and the program director and the network manager, I mean, all three positions here work in collaboration. There isn't one of the realizations I've had in my 5 months working with RCC is there isn't one without the other. They come together. New programs can't exist if the network doesn't exist, and it strengthens the network to have new collaborative programs. And the team coordinator is a key piece of the puzzle in that they work with the program director and the network manager to make sure that um, the whole unit works well. And so really the team coordinator fills um, a role of making sure that the whole thing operates like a well-oiled machine. Part of what we put together when we did this is what would it take to make this happen? And the number that we've come up with is it's about 300,000 a year. And so what we're doing right now is we're looking for visionary philanthropic funders to help us get this vision off the ground. And really what we're looking for is 3 years of funding for this vision because part of what we think can happen here, both the program director and the network manager, is that we can use that sort of philanthropic seed money going forward to figure out how to self-finance the entire RCC. And that's a good segue into, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It's a good segue into the next piece that I'm really excited about, which is that we're focused on a membership drive um, with our members. So the idea is that we'll have three levels of membership, which operate as support for core support for RCC, and we'll be going out to our members. Looking for that support based on your members' organize or operating budgets. We'll have three levels of support, 500, 1,000, and 5,000. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that in this call. Anyways, hope everyone's well. Great to see you. Thanks.
I
Well,
can
thanks
pull
so
up
much, Peter.
the PDF if you want me to.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just say a couple things, and Aaron's gonna pull up the next slide for us. Um, just to let you know that we're currently at an aspirational stage with the staffing model that is before us. There hasn't been hiring yet within that model, so Peter is part of the helping to set direction and future for the RCC. I know that we heard yesterday lots of positivity around the staffing model, that it doesn't just have one person at the center, that it has multiple voices, and some questions about how this model might interact with the listening circle or other circles that might be a part of the RCC. So on the slide that Aaron's going to throw out for us, I'm just going to talk in a little more depth about some of the aspects of the membership.
I'm working on getting it full screen. And here we go.
Awesome. So this is the slide that Peter just had on his screen. And you can see again the model here. There's been a few details added to this. Aaron, I wonder if we could see the next slide. Okay, so Peter alluded to the beginning of a membership drive. And this will be one of the ways that we can drive funds towards creating the $300,000 for this model, and to also extend the current runway operating for the RCC. And so Peter mentioned three sort of, I guess, tiers or invitations. So the first would be for retreat centers with budgets under $300,000 to commit $500 a year, and for $300,000 to $1 million to commit $1,000 a year, and for over $1 million to contribute $5,000 a year. And this is what we're hoping folks might be able to begin to discern and to think about. And we want to let you know that your membership will support a network that is dedicated to reimagining retreat for universal flourishing. So that would be around connecting with peers, around transforming your practice, around innovating together, around accessing specialized resources, and around amplifying our impact. And of course, your membership supports a community that upholds the values of place-based transformation, the interplay and inner and outer play of our work, and a commitment to universal flourishing. I know that yesterday in the listening circle, there was some thoughts around the levels and some thoughts around profit compared to nonprofit retreat centers, and should those be the same? And so these are some of the questions that we will continue to wrestle with. We want to be really clear that this is not a final stage document, that we really are looking for your feedback. We're really hoping that today that you might be able to voice that into some of the potentially smaller groups we might break into. And if you're like me, sometimes you need a night to sleep on it. There will also be ways for you to offer that feedback through a variety of channels, which we'll be sharing with you in a moment. The Stewardship Circle had a large conversation about this at Pendle Hill, and each of the centers represented there have already made a financial commitment towards their stewardship, towards their membership level. So for instance, Five Oaks is committed to $1,000 a year for the current budget line, that our current operating budget for 2025. So there's already some money already into the pot from the Stewardship Circle folks, and we hope that others will be able to do the same. So Aaron, if you don't mind, skipping over to the next slide. Thank you so much. So here's a slide that will let you know how you might be able to share your own feedback and questions after today. So there's an email here that you can connect with us. We're hoping to we want to let you know that we're hoping that we can launch this membership in April, which is coming up just in a couple of weeks. So we hope that you can keep an eye out for this announcement and invite your retreat friends to join us in this membership model. If you're not already signed up for the RCC newsletter, there's a link there for you. And we really hope that you're a part of the RCC Facebook group. And if you are, and you know a retreat center that's not, maybe you could send them this link and say, hey, this is a really great way to get involved. I know that I did that last year with a retreat center close to me, and that they've now been able to connect to RCC. They had no idea that we all exist, the beautiful group that we are. So here are some next steps. Aaron has been working on creating a page on the RCC website that will be our membership landing place. And we are working with Commonweal to figure out a way that people can make their pledges and their contributions through that portal. And how exactly that's going to be is still being determined by the IT folks, which is definitely not my area of expertise, thank goodness. But here is what the page will mostly look like. And just to remind you that we have 300 retreat centers from 48 states and provinces, representing a diverse group of faith traditions and practices. And so all of us working together will support a vibrant network for the future. And each of our contributions will be important. In my own faith tradition, this aspect of offering our gifts together for the greater whole is a regular practice. So here we have some highlights of why you might want to join the RCC. Oh my gosh, I see that I'm in that picture, Aaron. How fun. You'll be able to connect with your peers, access specialized resources, transform your practice, amplify your impact, and innovate together. And as a member of the collaboration, you will have full access to member community platforms and resource libraries, organization listing within the RCC directory, early access to funding opportunities and collaborative programs, participation in specialized cohorts and learning communities, and priority consideration for hosting future RCC events. For instance, like our annual retreat, which was hosted at Five Oaks last year. On the webpage, you'll be able to see clearly what the membership invitations look like. And I know in the listening circle yesterday, there were some conversation around how this could be like listed differently. And so we're open to hearing more about that. And to the Stewardship Circle will work hard on making sure that this feels accessible. Also to maybe an individual wants to join, they're not a part of a retreat center. So we're really thinking through how we can invite all into this campfire circle that we have created. And then you're going to have a membership spot here where you can click and you can hopefully in the first week of April send in your membership contribution. As always, Aaron, I'm so grateful for all of your creativity that finds its way onto our slides and onto our website. Your gift of making it beautiful and clear and succinct is so great. In Fist of 5, I give you a 5. It's amazing.
Thank you, Michael. I might also add that we are also working on a revamped network map for RCC, so that hopefully it will be easier to find each other on a geographical map. So making collaboration a lot easier.
Yeah, so thanks, Aaron, for updating that map and doing that work. And it's such a good resource to all of us. I know it was a little bit outdated, so it's great to have that caught back up. So here we are, way ahead of schedule. And I'm going to invite us to break into some small groups. Let's see, there's how many of us here? 5, 10, 15, almost 20 people. I wonder if we break into groups of 4 or 5, Aaron. And in this group, friends, we're going to give you some time to reflect on the importance of a membership model, why you think it might be helpful for the future of the RCC, what concerns might you have, or questions that might be helpful in the finalization of this process, praises if you have any, and we'll come back and then we'll have each group will have a few minutes to sort of share what they heard with the stewardship circle. Aaron, is it possible to put a stewardship person into each room?
I think we can, yeah, I think I can shuffle folks around. Give me just a moment. Yeah.
You are so amazing. Is my invitation clear for what we might do in this time we have? And does the time I'm suggesting feel long enough to have that conversation around 5 people?
What was the timing again, Michael? Sorry.
I think I was saying between 10 to 15 minutes. I don't know if that feels too long or too short. So let's practice Fist of 5. If you think it's too short, then you're going to put a 1. And if you think it's just right, you can give a 5. And if you're somewhere in between, then you'll give us a 2, 3, or 4. So let's practice this together. 2s, 4s, 5s. Okay, so I see Paul, can you tell us what would help us get you up into a 3 or 4 in this process? We can't hear you, Paul. Sorry.
Just seemed too short of time for
Too short of
this
time.
kind of a big discussion. So
Okay.
you asked how I thought about it. So I just responded.
No, and so how Fist of 5 works is if someone's below a 3, then you would ask for them to name where they're at and how we might make it possible. So I'm really grateful for you for practicing with us this Fist of 5 tool, and we're just live doing it, practicing. It's so good. Let's start with 15 minutes. Let's start with taking the time to introduce ourselves. Take your time to share how this might be important for your center and for the future. Concerns, pros, cons, praises. Leslie says, can you put the points you would like us to cover in the chat? Yes, I think Aaron and I can do that. it may be in a minute once you're in your room. So are we ready, Erin?
Yeah, I'm
We're
ready.
ready.
Mhm.
Okay. Have so much fun.
All right, you should have something popping up on your screen here. If you need help getting into your room, just let me know. I think I can get you in there manually if needed.
I have to say, we were in the middle of a very juicy conversation and we
You were a 2.
You're right, Paul. We should have given 5 more minutes. But here's the gift, friends. Now we can have a fulsome conversation as a group of 18 people. And we can get into that juice in just a minute here. And we're not in a huge rush at this exact moment. So I think there were 4 groups. And I don't know the numbers, but maybe someone from one of the groups wants to start us off, and then we'll just go through the 4. And maybe we'll save the juicy Paul and Francisco group. You want to go last and share us your juice and see if we cover it. So, who would like to go first?
I can start our group for the sake of time. And of course, Paul and Francisco in the same group, so they'll stretch the time to prove the point that 2 fingers were 2 fingers. Insane. All right, so our group, as we discussed it, I think was much in favor to the membership model. And please, group, chime in if I, interpret some things on my, my own behalf. Membership model were very supportive. I think at the end there was another suggestion of the naming. It's more like seed funding or seed money to see if that's possible. But mainly it's more about the sustainability long term is having a group of like-minded and finding like-minded people and organizations. We had majority of our members in that group were their like their first meeting. And so there was definitely excitement also seeing that this exists and there's like-minded and resources that people can tap into. Somebody from a smaller organization were reflecting that 500 is a fair price. And then we discussed benefits, like what does it mean? What kind of benefits? How does RCC communicate the benefits? So some of the suggestions were actually, which I think it's a good one in terms of video and video recording several people that have received and have an experience of RCC and what are those benefits to them, and actually like what has that changed for them and the organization. And a lot of times that is the tangible thing for people. They can relate a lot easier, and there's a real person actually speaking in the organization. Another suggestion was, which was lovely, is maybe whether it's quarterly retreats or a little less often, but rotating retreats. And I can say you from previously as HCN, that happened once a year as well, but it's the getting together and rotating locations. But actually coming to it I like the part of however we gather together, it's the figuring out the discount 50 to 75% off market price for people getting together, and actually maybe like all of us contributing into facilitation and the running of it. So there is like the volunteer contribution. And so everybody comes, we're all coming together, but we're all contributing and actually working together on that. The revenue-based model resonated with people. And another share was for smaller, well, for actually a lot of times for any organization, it's that having that sharing resource of learning and development and professional services. So when it comes to like finance, IT, HR, it's a fractional piece, but finding a fractional service that is, I'm going to say, consistent, professional, and actually understand. I'll speak that from my experience more as a fractional, sometimes HR director. Having the understanding of the retreat centers actually and nonprofits, but really retreat centers and in-person thing is it's a unique experience, and it's very unique experience for staff. And it's very unique experience when you have staff living where they work. No matter what the mission of the organization is, it's a very different dynamic. So having that as a pool to kind of pull from for the needs basis, whether it's the org redesign and supporting like are this roles appropriate or just dealing with staff or dynamics, It doesn't need to be a full-time person, but it's like, where do you pull from? And at this moment, also the point was the fiscal year for some organizations, it starts July 1st to June 30th. So for them to be planning for this time, this moment, membership is maybe not in their budget at this moment, but might start on July 1st. So I think it's more awareness of RCC, but again, that's coming back to the whole membership or seed funding space. It's an ongoing thing, so the organization might be able to join, in July 1st, but it's a rolling thing. And I think another piece I wanted was mentioned in our group is, it's like, well, that's my read, the chicken and the egg. In order to provide the benefits and like kind of get everybody cohesively rowing together, RCC needs resources, time, and get this done. That takes people and resources. So it's like for them to get this going and for all of the members to be like, okay, are we going in sync? That will take time. Well, that's totally my my take on it, or from HCN as well, and background from there. So that's our group.
Thanks so much, Tatiana, for representing. I was in that group. Thank you so much for representing us. Is there someone from another group that would like to go next?
I could chat at least about my own personal part. I mean, I feel like in the general, I could summarize the group saying that they do feel like the RCC has been a valuable resource and that this sounds like a great idea. And I would agree in principle in terms of the membership. I just find as representing a retreat center that is over $1 million, but not like multiple times over $1 million, to go from 1,000 to 5,000 seems like very steep, and that maybe there might be a different formula to use that would be more fair on that side of the retreat dues.
Thanks, Bill. Very good point. Were there anybody else from the group Bill was in that wants to share? Okay. Third group, or were the 3 groups or 4 groups, Aaron? 4 groups. Okay, the third group, that's not Francisco and Paul. Make them wait till the end. This is fun. From the third group, is there anyone that would like to join in?
I'm happy to share a little bit from our group. Leslie and Eve and myself were in one group, just 3 of us. Just lots of good conversations around, because we had Leslie, who's been on the fundraising committee for RCC, and was very involved with the HCN as well. Just a lot of conversation around the value of RCC, the gratitude to Fetzer around funding this founding of RCC, because we've been able to have rich conversations because of that support at the beginning to get it off the ground. And she was saying, yeah, we and I saw that in the wheel too, like that we both need membership and we still need philanthropy support. Like it's going to take, diversity of funding streams. And she, the other thing I want to share, because Leslie left, but I want to celebrate, is that she said, we really do need to reach out individually to retreat centers, especially some of the HCN retreat centers that were more active in RCC earlier and maybe less active now, and that she would volunteer time to do one-on-one calls. And she really wanted to emphasize the value, yes, to directors, but also to all the staff, that the directors should be selling the retreat center as a valuable resource to their staff too, so that, a center manager can be connecting with another center manager and comparing notes and visiting and all those things. And then she said, it's the work is good and it's also really hard in all of the places. And there's something about connecting with other retreat center people that helps the staff feel good about their jobs, because they're in it together with other peers, and sharing ideas and things like that. So she really wanted to emphasize selling value to people who are missing, and also really want to honor Eve, saying how important this has been for her to join this network as someone who's at a retreat center and meeting peers, and that it's been a lifeline there, and really honoring too that you listen to the land, and the land is a partner. That makes me so happy. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of support, and also Leslie still wants to support and volunteer and be involved as she was earlier. So I just want to honor that, as she had to leave early. And also she has a lot of personal experience from, being part of ATN and seeing it not flourish, and wanting this to succeed.
Thanks so much, Brenda. We'll make sure to mark down in bold Leslie's offer. And if anybody else has a volunteer offer, you can just put it in the chat. We'd love to hear how you want to volunteer. There's always opportunities with RCC to offer your gifts. And I think that's a really valid point. All valid points, but the interesting one about not just for directors. And I remember at the retreat at Five Oaks in 2023, all the folks that were in sort of operations that were at the retreat went off with the Five Oaks general manager and like into the back rooms, into the furnace rooms, into housekeeping, and like looking at and they all were just like talking and sharing ideas. And I know how fruitful that was for that group of people to have that opportunity. So that's a really good reminder. And over to the fourth group, last but not least, share us your juice.
Oh, do you want me to talk or do you want? Yeah. So this was a very unique group. Nothing to talk about your groups. Yeah. But we have Paul and I that are all these in this network, and we have Erin that is her first call today joining us, but has been looking for 5 years to be part of this. And we have Evelyn that doesn't belong to a retreat center, but has done a lot of retreats within the retreat center. So great mix of things. First observation that we have was like, what is the wiggle room to revisit the fee that were presented to us? We thought that lower numbers, considering the number of retreat centers that integrate the network, maybe benefit for not leaving people out of the network. And we were thinking about 250, 500, 1,000 at the higher. Also, the idea that was presented early about giving opportunity for individual like Evelyn that don't belong to a retreat center but can pay an individual fee to benefit from the network service, and the idea also of a open line, pay as led or as your heart offer you the opportunity to keep engaging with this. Another things that was added here was, can we have another opportunity to consider that if I don't have the financial means to pay that in cash, or that I can offer a trade opportunity, like, I will be offering my retreat center to hold X activity, and that can contribute toward my membership fee. These were a couple things that were mentioned in regards to what was presented to us today. And we expanded our conversation because we have a lot of time to think a little bit about, as we move forward, looking the restructuring of the staff and this new vision of RCC in how we make it sustainable and so on, can we also have an opportunity to rethink the way how we will integrate a more representative opportunity for the network that we are? Meanings like, who are the retreat centers that we have, and how the different uh, petals of the flowers that we are can be a representation of the gray collage of retreat centers that we are in the network. And if I left anything behind outside of our conversation, please jump in.
Francisco, you said that a lot better than I did. Way to go. Good job.
Thanks so much, group number four. I just wanted to give a couple minutes if there's any other percolating thoughts that folks have that you wanted to share in the full group. Now would be a great time to do that. We have a couple minutes. or any reactions or reflections to anything that has been said from the other groups. So if you have something, just unmute yourself. Tatiana.
I think as I'm reading in the text box, I'm reading Gloria was suggesting tiers of membership, and then Brenda and Sonia were echoing some things. One thing when I was reading Gloria's for me is admin of the tiers. So to me, like when I read that first, it's like I get all those pieces, and maybe when Bill was speaking, maybe there's more of a tier of like the over $1 million to that membership cost, that difference between 1,000 and 5,000. But it's like it's just cleaned, like the cleaner, easier the buckets are, the easier it's to maintain. Humans are humans. Then we start, well, I don't need Zoom right now, but I'll need it later. Well, my Zoom now doesn't. It's just it could create a lot of admin work. And so it's also for RCC to consider what is the coordinator or whoever is holding this, what is their capacity and bandwidth actually. And so when you come into the membership, when you're setting this, and yes, as recipients, we could ask for all kinds of things, is actually for you to see how can you manage it sanely and sustainably. Because technologies are going to change. There's going to be more technology in this world, whether we like it or not. There's going to be more of anything and everything. And so how do we mindfully harvest and kind of make the, as Francisco, you were saying, like, how do we make that flower, kind of like all this put together, but actually that is sustainable. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Tatiana. I think that sustainability point has been one that has been raised as we've talked about a membership model over the last while, and what could we offer? And it was one of the reasons I think we shied away from it, maybe a year and a half ago. And I think the reality that we've come to right now is we're already receiving so much from the RCC, and there's an opportunity to now seed fund that or become members or make a donation for what we've already received and for the continuance of that. And then I think to be really careful, I hear you saying be careful as you choose what you might offer and make sure it's actually sustainable. So I think that's such a really helpful point. So thank you. Paul, I see you're unmuted.
Yes. Just two things with that. It's interesting that these situation would come up now that we're looking at the dues at these kind of prices, because when Ben was here, he kind of shared with me, hey, half the groups are Catholic. We need more Catholic sponsorship. And how can you help me do that? And it's interesting because a lot of the Catholic ones are run by religious organizations that are now at a point where they can't afford to go on because they've gotten too old. And they are looking for our retreat centers to be self-sustaining. And so as we're developing that, as half the retreat centers are possibly looking at how do I become self-sustaining, every $1,000 is important. And it just can't go out the door because it's needed to make us self-sustaining. And so it's kind of a bad time, because 4 years ago, I'd have been jumping all over going, yeah, we'll pay those dues, no problem. Now I'm going, I'd love to, but, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of them that are dealing with that issue that we need to look at and how you handle it. And then the other thing I kind of shared on the thing when we were looking at the position that was out there, and it was 20 hours at $60,000, like, dang, I do that part-time work and make more than I'm making full-time. Midwest is a lot different than the West Coast on what salaries are. And so if I was doing that job from the Midwest, that sounds like a really good salary to me at halftime. Whereas here, it's not that great. It would have been, a different thing. So we also have to look, I think, when we're looking at these numbers of where the retreat centers are located, makes a huge difference.
Thanks, Paul. Those are all really valid points to raise. And definitely we'll probably reach out to you, want to talk a little more about it. I see you, Sarah Lynn, just one sec here. In my faith tradition, the story of the loaves and the fishes is like, I think kind of what we're getting at here. It's like, we know not every retreat center right now can put in 1,000 or 500, but the ones that can will, and it will help the ones that can't move forward. So I kind of, it's not, I don't think this is a model where it's like, you didn't pay, you're out. It's okay that you didn't pay. We still need you in the circle. The collective can hold this and we'll keep moving forward together. The model is come close to the campfire no matter what you've given. And be warmed by that. And maybe we need to have a community call around, you're in a religious order group and the religious order has defunded you and now you got to make it on your own, which is exactly what Five Oaks went through 8 years ago. And let's talk. Maybe that's something that this circle can help benefit. So, Sarah Lynn.
We were thinking on similar terms, Michael. I
Yes.
was just really struck by what Paul said and some things that Bill said earlier about centers that are maybe relatively new and are really having a hard time even breaking even, or these very established centers that are now losing funding, right, and losing support. They need help. And it just struck me how it is exactly those centers and the people running them that need RCC, right? Because you have this great opportunity to utilize resources from your peers. And so that alone sometimes can make it worth, the investment of a membership, whatever is affordable, to be able to say, what can I glean from this? What can I draw from it? And that might help us meet these goals, these financial goals. And but it also came to me that maybe there could be a focus group for the centers that are either really trying to get established or that are losing funding, and maybe some of the centers that are finding that they are in the black might have some things to share that could help them. So maybe there could be a group that is supporting and just sharing ideas and that sort of thing.
So much goodness. I see Eve, and Eve will let you be the last speaker in this round. We have a few announcements we want to make before we end our call. So Eve, final word.
I'll be quick for you, but the reason I've even found you guys to begin with was that we are a small retreat center. I was one of the founders. We're 15 years old, not even, and I was looking for consultants to help with some of the questions I had, like how do I do this, and what do other places do? And so I was looking at consultants, and if you look at the price of hiring consultants, is like, and then I found you guys, and I feel like I've gotten so much out of this network and the resources that you guys have on there too. And so I feel like one of the things, if you're trying to get people to buy into the cost that the membership fee, I think really finding some way to market it as such of the resources, what resources are available, what can you get out of, like, the value that you're getting out of it, in some way from the start. Like, I don't know, I found it from your website to begin with, so, and then the meetings. But anyway, I just feel like there is the cost is high and here, but it's higher if you want to get a consultant. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks so much, Eve. Yeah, probably the amount of free consulting work I've got from RCC since 2018 is in the thousands and thousands of dollars. So I probably owe more than 1,000 at this point, but that's a really good point. Thank you, friends, so much for thinking this through with us. And the Stewardship Circle will take all of these notes that I know Aaron has been capturing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to turn the circle over to Brenda, who has some news to share with us.
Hi, beloved ones. It's such a joy to be here with you, and I'm so grateful for the rich conversation and engagement that's happening here today. So grateful for you and your investment in the future of RCC, and and our relationships with one each other, because that's really what it's about. It's about relationship and mutual learning community. So grateful for that. I have some big news to share. March 31st will be my last day as the program director of Racial Healing Initiative. It was 2.5 years ago that I was sitting in my backyard with Victoria, and she was asking me to step into this role as she stepped into the role with 3 Black men. And it felt like such an honor that she was asking me. And it's been an honor to be in relationship with all of you in this way and to steward the racial healing programming that Victoria began with the team of consultants at that time. I feel like I've learned so much from the different retreat centers in our relationships. I feel like I've learned so much from the consultants on the team. I love the ways that our gifts complement each other. And RCC will be figuring out what happens next with RHI, if there's an RHI 2.0 or what becomes of this. But there's so many lessons from all the relationship and learnings with all of you. So I just want to thank you for being part of this journey with me. It's been so much mutual medicine and flow of medicine, it feels like, in my life as being part of RHI. I do want to emphasize that I'm not leaving RCC community. These relationships are very important to me and very tender to me. And I've made friends here that I know I will have for the rest of my life. Spirit often and ancestors often guide me when it's my time to leave a certain role and I'm supposed to do something else in the world. There's so much around Indigenous prophecy and the time in the Toltec calendar and the work that I'm supposed to be doing, which is still embodying a lot of the things that we did in RHI. But so much of that is about the braiding of the racial, the ancestral, and the land healing as an Indigenous person and helping people understand the context of the time we're in. And certainly doing a lot of embodiment and healing work with folks who are going to be most hard hit in the coming years, and making sure that they have the resources and the tools for the resilience that's needed in this time, but also that we're conjuring and calling in ancestors and planting seeds with the earth for the things that we want. This is a very particular time in Indigenous prophecy in the Toltec calendar. And so I don't say goodbye to RCC, although I'm not going to be in this role anymore. I'm still part of the RCC family and intend to stay so. I think that's all I should share right now because we don't have too much time, but some of the announcement is about what will be happening in April. So, and I'm also going to share my personal contact information for folks who want to stay in communication.
So Brenda's put in her personal contact info there if you want to copy that down. And Brenda, there's a few nice messages in there. Some hearts from Kirsten. We also want to recognize that Stewardship Circle member Nancy Lee has stepped away in the last while as well from her role on the Stewardship Circle. And at our next meeting, our next community call, April 15th, we're going to be celebrating these 2 beautiful humans. And we're going to be sending out more information about how we're going to do that. But Erin's posted a link in the chat, so you can check that out and make sure everybody knows that they should be here for this celebration. Somehow similar to maybe how we celebrated Ben, but obviously a little bit different because we're creative folks. So stay tuned to see how that is going to take place. And Brenda is going to be maybe our first individual sponsor, our first individual member, of RCC. You never know. Maybe we can call you Brenda. Yeah. I'm good at asking. So, friends, I'm going to lead us in a closing practice. That'll take less than 2 minutes. And I wasn't sure which one I would do until now, based on the time. And I may have led this free before, but it's one of my favorites. And you just rub your hands together like this. And we know that when there's friction, that energy is created in heat. So I would just invite you to get your hands really warmed up here. Put a lot of energy into your hands and just focus on goodness. Holy moly, our world needs goodness. Our retreat centers offer goodness. This circle needs goodness. We're going to send it out to Peter and to Brenda and to Nancy and all those people that we love that are connected to the centers that need it, that are struggling, the ones that have got it going, the ones that are 15 years old, the ones that are 100 years old. All of them are going to get our blessing. And in 5 seconds, we're going to release our hands open. You can also receive this love, this light, this energy. So here we go. You're going to open your hands to the screen. 5, harder, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel this energy. May it restore our planet. May it restore what's needed to be restored within ourselves, within our centers. May you take this love and light with you as you go into this day. Friends, it has been so good to be with you. Take care. Be well. See you soon.